press conference heading into the rematch, Don?
Well, I've been in many press conferences over the years, and my understanding, how I feel, is that earlier on in my coaching career, I obviously, like I said, been in press conferences, but after a while, you start to understand that the press conferences are part of the fight. The fight has actually started. Once that contract is signed, the fight has started. So press conferences are very, very important. Yeah. You get to see a lot of the opposition. They get to see a lot of you. So it's very important that you walk away from the press conference feeling that, yep, you delivered your message, feeling that you've read the body language of your opposition is very, very important. And just collecting data. And I believe walking away that day, last Tuesday in London, I collected enough data. Some of it I already had, and some of it, there was some more new, fresh data that I believe we collected.
Can you share any of that? The one thing that I took away from that press conference was I've never seen Usyk and his team be as agitated as they had been before. And it seemed like Usyk even made the decision to end the press conference earlier than it seemed to go on for. Did you get that feeling that there was a bit of agitation from their team because of what has gone on back and forth in the past?
Like I said, I want to elaborate. I saw a few new things that, very, very useful. Like I said, the press conference is a part of the fight.
Do you take it as a win?
It's a plus.
And those are the words of Don Charles. As he said, he's collected new data from Oleksandr Usyk, the body language, the actions of that camp. And like I said, you guys, if you guys haven't voted, vote on my post. It's on my community tab. But the question was, did Team Dubois mind games work on Oleksandr Usyk? And a lot of you guys said no. But, for the 9%, I believe, or 13%, that says, yes, I can understand why you voted that way. Not saying it's true or false, okay? That's why I asked you guys, right? But I do think Oleksandr Usyk stating that, hey, getting up, ending the press conference the way he did, he never done that before with any other fighter, period. That's why I had to ask that question, because it's like it comes off like, yeah, they were agitated, aggravated, annoyed, or whatever it was. I think the objective of having strong mind control is not allowing people to get you to a certain way for you to make or do something that gets them the indication that they have got to you. Does that make sense? See, Don Charles is talking, it's a plus. And if I was Don Charles, I would be thinking the same thing. Why? Because he made Oleksandr Usyk do something he never done. Okay, let me give you guys an example. You remember You remember Anthony Joshua versus Jarrell Miller, the fight that never happened, the biggest fight that sold out in 2 hours in Madison Square Garden, New York, that never happened. That fight, what did Jarrell Miller make Anthony Joshua do? Become unglued. Come out of that promotional endorsement shell of choices and things to say that sound good depending on what you want to do as keep the bag because you got all these endorsements. Well, when Jarrell Miller started talking and made AJ do what he did, none of that mattered, did it? No. AJ was pissed. Now, I'm not saying Oleksandr Usyk was pissed, but maybe Oleksandr Usyk was annoyed. I think he was annoyed enough for that to be an issue. Any discussion you are willing to walk away from, it's either you don't want to discuss it anymore, which that means you've already proved your point, maybe, or, you can't take what's coming at you. You see what I mean? So I think overall, him saying, oh, Usyk surprised me, that's just more mind games, but it makes sense. See, Usyk, I don't think that he's, Usyk needs an American hype man. I'm sorry. If I was his hype man, bro, if I was on Team Usyk, bro, I would be, hey, which one of you guys quit? So you're saying Usyk quit, right? So who quit? You say you stopped him, but you quit. Make that make sense. So, a lot of things, man. I would be talking a gang of stuff, me personally, but no. I think, what they grab from that is a plus. That's what it comes off. But I think if you feel that you came out of a press conference pretty positive with the points that you made and the things that you said, and see, understand something about Don Charles. Don Charles went way below the belt. If you think Daniel Dubois' punch was illegal, you should see Don Charles low blow. What God do you serve that you think that it's okay to lie? Like, whoa. And anything you know about a guy is probably just as religious as Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean? Just, he had to kiss the cross in between rounds. So you're telling a guy like that he ain't that he ain't a son of God, that he's false, that he's not a true follower of the Holy Divine? Think about it. Yeah, that'll piss anybody off. So Don Charles went there. That's why I'm like this. If he was affected or he wasn't affected, think about it. Okay, if he wasn't affected, that's just the normal Oleksandr Usyk. But he did things that he's never done. So maybe he was affected. But think about it. How couldn't he be affected if somebody attacked his faith? Okay, his faith was attacked. His beliefs were attacked. So, yeah, it was a fair play to Don Charles, bro. Fair play. I'm going to tell you why. Fair play to Don Charles because Don Charles knew what buttons to press people. And he was pressing them. Beep, 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 beep. He was pressing them like he was dialing a telephone number in Afghanistan because he was pressing a lot of buttons. He was doing it constantly. Okay? That's exactly what he was doing. So that, and his son, right? Daniel Dubois really didn't say much. It's Team Dubois, not necessarily Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois is the fighter. He's the fighter. Put him to rest if he wants to test. Bars. He's the fighter. But those other guys, Don Charles and his son, fair play to them. They did their job. You guys tell me what you think of Don Charles, feeling that they walked away from that press conference with a plus and they collected data that's going to help them in the fight. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch.